guys, it's Alli. In today's video I have the Zoya Sophisticates collection for fall 2017. I first want to just thank you all for your feedback on the last video, the China Glaze My Little Pony video. Oh man, your thoughts, whether positive or constructive, I love hearing them. And you guys left me some awesome feedback, and anytime just leave me feedback. I do ask if there's constructive criticism that it's communicated in a way that I want to receive it, and so I'll take it into consideration and not in a way that's just rude. So that's all I ask. Alright, so if you guys are new to my channel or if you haven't watched the China Glaze video, you will see that some things have changed in terms of my review. I try to give a more thorough review of the products and the brand and my order and everything. So over here to my right, your left, you will see, did I mess up my nail? No, okay. You will see timestamps, and I have the brand information, order information, collection information, timestamps, and then the review. And basically I'm just going to quickly go over Zoya as a brand, then I'll go into my order experience, and then we'll talk about the collection or the product that I'm reviewing, and then I'll show you timestamps so that you can go directly to that polish if you're using this for reference, or if you already know you're only interested in a couple, then you can go directly to those. And finally we'll get into the review. I will review each polish individually, which includes a new star rating, and I will also review the whole collection, or rate the entire collection as a whole, using a couple of different metrics. So if you don't mind long videos, then that's how my reviews are. If you do mind long videos, you can totally just skip to the review of each individual polish, or you can just skip to the very end where I do the collection review as a whole. If you're looking at the whole collection, I will also include timestamps in the description box for you. So Zoya, the brand, is owned by Art of Beauty. Zoya is a cruelty-free and vegan company, and their polishes are 10-free. Be on the lookout for a 3, 5, 7, and 10-free video sometime this fall when I start up my nail care series. So I'll show you a quick close-up of the Zoya brush. It is a flat brush. It's quite small, but it is a flat brush. I don't mind the fact that it's a small brush because it's flat. I do prefer really flat brushes. The wider the better, but I don't mind this one even though it is a smaller brush. So some order information. Zoya did send this collection to me for free for my review, so I did not pay anything for it. However, I do have some specs on Art of Beauty, who owns Zoya, and their shipping and everything. So Art of Beauty offers free shipping on all orders over $55 in the continental US. Orders under $55 are charged a $6.95 flat rate for shipping. And again, that's in the continental US. Zoya uses UPS, FedEx, and the USPS Postal Service, or the US Postal Service, to deliver product. And keep in mind that all of those different carriers will have different standard ground shipping times. So you may get your polishes within 5 days, 8 days, etc. If you're really impatient, you can order by priority mail or priority air, and it'll add $44 to your total, but you should get your order within 2 business days. So Zoya provided a code for me to go in and pick up the polishes for free, and I did that on Thursday, August 3rd. They shipped the polishes on Tuesday, August 8th, and I received them on Thursday, August 10th. That's about a 7-day turnaround time for a PR package, but I honestly think that's pretty typical turnaround time for most Zoya orders. So per the Art of Beauty website, you can return your unwanted polish to Zoya. You can return your merchandise for a full refund of the product value if you are unhappy for any reason. This is what their website says. They say that their return policy is simple. Within 10 days of purchase, you can return any item in its original condition for a full refund of the product value. You will need to keep the original packaging and send that with the item. And then in bold, they say, unless otherwise stated, specials, promotions, or any products that are purchased using an incentive or coupon are not eligible for return or exchange. And then they don't exchange, or they don't refund shipping charges either. And then just make sure that you're checking the shipping and returns page on their site if you're looking to return a product. So another thing to note, I'm going to go ahead and put up a screenshot of the latest Zoya promotion, and I want you to look at the last sentence. So be sure to read the fine print on any kind of promotion that you purchase nail polish from, or anything from, really, because I know that some people were really disappointed in the shipping time during the Black Friday sale. But at the bottom of this promotion, it says, on the last sentence, it says, Zoya states, please allow up to 4 weeks for delivery. So sometimes when there are promotions and they're anticipating a lot of volume, I assume they are going to go ahead and push out the delivery time so that they can get the orders processed. So just make sure that you're checking the fine print and the terms and conditions of any promotions that you are wanting to purchase from. Okay, and then prior to this collection's release, Zoya did offer an awesome pre-order opportunity. So you could pre-order sample A, which I can't remember what polishes made up sample A versus B, but you could pre-order sample A and receive sample B for free. So it's basically 12 Zoya polishes for $60, which is $5 per polish, which is a great deal in my opinion. If you're not following Zoya on Instagram or Facebook, I would go follow them. They have sales all the time now, so definitely go follow them. And if you aren't for some reason interested in following them, the promotions that appeal to me, the ones that I would purchase from, I usually will send them out on Instagram and Facebook. So if you don't want to follow them, you can always follow me. Links are in the description box. Okay, and then let's get into the collection information. So the Sophisticates collection is what Zoya is describing as a palette of smoldering nudes, wine reds, and shadowy hues in pearl, metallic, and cream finishes. This is a 12-piece collection, and here are the timestamps in case you want to skip ahead. Okay, so before we jump into the review, a couple more notes. Number one, all the descriptions that I'm going to read off are from the Zoya website, but I will be offering the Pantone colors, and if I disagree with any of the descriptions, I'll let you know. And number two, I'm going to be rating these polishes based on the $5 price point that was offered in the pre-order. I know that that's not available right now. However, I personally recommend taking advantage of Zoya's sales. They have them pretty frequently now, at least like once a month. I think for the past few months they've had some kind of sale. So I recommend using the sales to purchase Zoya products. But keep in mind, if you're buying at the $10 price point, my rating would definitely change on some of these at a $10 price point versus a $5 price point. But because I recommend buying on a sale, I'm just going to go ahead and rate it based on a typical sale price. Okay guys, so the first one we're looking at is called McKenna. This one is described as a refined pearl and soft almond. And I will say there is a pearly finish in here. However, it's very faint on the nail, so if you're worried about that pearl coming through really strong, it doesn't. It's barely there. You have to look really, really closely to see it. For a Pantone reference, look to Pantone's 14-1116 TPG and the color Almond Buff. The consistency of McKenna is a bit on the thin side. However, it does get opaque in 2 coats. On the first coat, it went on a little bit sheer and streaky, and then it did get completely opaque in 2, like I said. The finish is glossy, surprisingly. Usually the pearly finish is kind of dry, a little satin or matte. But yes, it was a glossy finish. In terms of rating the polish for cost, I'm going to rate it a 5 out of 5 at $5. I think most polishes this shade typically will take a couple of coats. So I think at cost it's pretty good polish. I think it's a decent polish at 2 coats for the color and the cost. So I'm going to rate it a 5 out of 5. For the formula ease of use, I'm going to take off 1 star simply because it is streaky on the first. So if you're the type of person who doesn't really care about opacity and you just want 1 even coat of something to kind of give you a wash of color, I personally think you will need 2 because the first coat is streaky. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for the formula and ease of use. And then for the number of coats, I originally gave it a 4 out of 5. I was thinking maybe a 5 out of 5 because I don't know that many this shade with this pearly finish that would be 1 coaters. I think I'm going to stick with a 4 out of 5 because even though it took 2 coats, they weren't the easiest coats. They weren't difficult by any means, but simply because I needed to cover up the streaks, yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. So McKenna is going to rate at a 4.33 out of 5 stars. Alright, second we have Beth. Beth is described on the Zoya website as a soft, sandy rose gold metallic. And to me, the metallic is just gold, and then there's like a mauviness to it that would give it kind of a rose gold type of appearance. For Pantone reference, look to 15-1511 TPG and Mahogany Rose. So the consistency of Beth is thin to normal. For the number of coats, I would say it's very sheer on the first coat, so you definitely need multiple coats, but it is even on that first coat. So if you like the sheer wash of color, this is a good one. It can get almost opaque in one with a really thick coat. Note I think it's my ring finger in the live swatch that almost got opaque in one. I did go to 2 coats for the live swatch, and I actually went to 3 coats for the swatch picture just to make sure everything was covered, but I do think this one is 2 normal coats and you're good to go. The finish is satin and shimmery. If you want the shimmer to stand out even more than it already does, and it does stand out, you will need a top coat. Okay, so rating this polish at cost, this one is easily 5 out of 5 stars at cost at $5. I don't have anything that looks just like this in my collection, so definitely 5 out of 5. For the formula ease of use, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I think it's a really easy formula, really easy to use. It glides on the nails. It's not too thick. It's not too thin. I think most metallics are going to need 2 coats, so that's nothing out of the ordinary. I am going to dock off 1 point or 1 star for the fact that it required 2 coats, because, you know, it could get opaque if it were a little bit thicker. It could get opaque in one. So overall, this one's going to rate at a 4.67 out of 5 stars. Our third polish is called Presley. This one is described as a smoky mauve cream, and it is kind of like a rosy mauve. I don't know if I would use smoky as the term, because I don't see, there's a little bit of gray in here which mutes it out, but I see more of a rosy mauve. I see a little bit more red in here, or pinky red in here than gray. So for a Pantone reference, look to 16-1508 TPX in Adobe Rose. The consistency of Presley was thin to normal. I thought it was opaque in one, believe it or not. It is quite a pigmented polish, but watching the swatch, the live swatch on camera, I was like, I should have taken that to 2. So I did use 2 for my swatch picture. The finish is glossy, which is really nice. In terms of rating this polish, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for cost. Again, at $5, it's a great polish in terms of formula and color. For formula and ease of use, I'm also going to give this a 5 out of 5 because it was incredibly easy to use, and there was no extreme streakiness or anything like that. In fact, it was almost opaque in 1 coat. For the number of coats, I'm going to drop it to 4 out of 5 simply because I have Jordana's Naked Rose, which is a similar idea to this, that is opaque in 1 coat for me. So Presley is going to come in at 4.67 out of 5 stars. Next up we have Joni. Joni is described as a deep, dusty plum cream. If you're looking, you're thinking, did I just blink? Are these the same polishes? No, clearly they're not. It's a little bit darker, a little bit more purple than Presley, just for your reference. The Pantone reference is 17-1614 TPG, and that is in Deco Rose. The consistency of Joni was thin to normal. It was completely opaque for me in 1 coat. However, you need 2 coats to get the true depth of the color of this polish in the bottle. So it's going to require 2 coats. Even if you do get it opaque, you're not going to match what's in the bottle. If you don't care about matching what's in the bottle, good to go. I could see you needing two coats if you do thinner coats as well. The finish, it finishes glossy, really pretty. I love the fact that these creams are a glossy finish, because if you have to run out, you don't really have to use a top coat. In terms of rating this polish, at cost, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. At formula ease of use, 1 coat, 5 out of 5. And at number of coats, 5 out of 5. So Joni is coming in at 5 out of 5 stars. And our 5th polish is called Hera. This one is described as a muted red mauve cream, and the Pantone reference is 17-1927 TPX in the color Desert Rose. Are you noticing a theme here? Rose, rose, rose. So the consistency of Hera was quite normal. It was just a little bit, tiny bit sheer on the first coat, so I did need to take it to 2. It was completely opaque in 2 coats, and it finished glossy. Rating this one, cost 5 out of 5. For formula ease of use, 5 out of 5. For the number of coats, if you use normal or thinner coats, it's definitely probably going to take you 2 coats. I think it's going to take you 2 coats. I think it's a solid 2-coater. But it is an extremely easy 2 coats. no streakiness, just a little bit of sheerness in a couple spots. So, I mean, 4 out of 5. I'm going to rate Hera at 4.67 out of 5 stars. And once again, don't blink. No, these two are clearly a little bit different. Little bit different. But the next one we have is called Padma. And this one is described as a deep vermilion red cream, and the Pantone reference that I have for you is 17-1929 TCX, and that is in Rapture Rose. Having fun with this. Alright, so the consistency of Padma is normal. A thicker first coat can get completely opaque in one. However, I used 2 thinner coats, I think, in the live swatch. I can't remember. Did I stop at 1? I don't remember, but I do know that 1 thick coat can get completely opaque. I used 1 coat for the swatch picture. No, I used 2 coats for the swatch picture. I think I used 1 coat in the live swatch. The finish of this is glossy. Rating this polish at cost, 5 out of 5. At formula ease of use, again, thicker first coat can get opaque, so I have to rate that at a 5 out of 5. And then for number of coats, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I can see people needing 2 coats with this. So Padma is going to come in at 4.67 out of 5 stars. So we've made it past the roses. Yay! The next one we have is called Yvonne. So Yvonne is described on the Zoya website as a rich red Bordeaux cream. The Pantone reference would be 19-1555 TPG in Red Dahlia. The consistency of Yvonne is normal. On the first coat, it was just the tiniest, easiest bit sheer on one. So it did need to, I think it definitely needs to. I used 2 in the live swatch and in the swatch picture. The finish is glossy. Rating this polish is going to be just like the past 2. At cost, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. At formula ease of use, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars, even though it needs the second one. It's just sheer in a couple of spots here and there. So I think for formula ease of use, it's really, really easy to use. So I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. And then for the number of coats, because it does require 2, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. So Yvonne's going to come in at 4.67 out of 5 stars. Alright, and next we have Mona. Mona is described as a deep burgundy plum cream, and the Pantone reference is 18-1325 TCX in the color Spiced Apple. The consistency of Mona is normal to thick, which was a really nice change after all of those polishes in the beginning as a lover of thicker polishes. On the first coat, it was completely opaque, easily opaque, no issues. Can't imagine you needing more than 1 coat of this. The finish is glossy. So I'm sure you already know my rating at cost is going to be 5 out of 5 stars. At formula ease of use, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously for the number of coats, 5 out of 5 stars. So Mona is going to come in at 5 out of 5. Alright, and next up we have Elaine. Elaine is a very interesting polish to me. Zoya describes it as a dark umber brown cream. And the Pantone reference is 19-1106 TCX in the color Mole. So the consistency of Elaine was thin to normal. It didn't have that thicker formula that I wanted. So if you are working with thinner coats, this one goes on sheer and very streaky on the first coat. If you're working with a little bit of a thicker coat, it will go on sheer, but it's not going to be quite as streaky. It did get opaque for me in 2, and there's something really interesting about this, and I want to mention it because it might change your thoughts on the color. It dries unusually warm. It applies really cool, but it actually dries down. You can see it. Hopefully I can maybe get a still of the after the first coat, how it dries so much warmer than it applies. My swatch picture was still a little bit wet. I take my swatch pictures right after I applied the last coat of polish, so the polish was still a little bit wet. So it does have the cool appearance that you see in the bottle in the swatch picture. However, as it dries, it does dry a little bit warmer than what you see in the bottle, which I thought was interesting. I still think it's pretty, it's just different. It's different than what I see in the bottle. The finish of this was glossy. So rating this one for the color, it is a unique color, but for me, it's gonna get a 4 out of 5 for cost because I do have browns, not just like this, but similar, that have a little bit of a better formula. On the formula, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 stars because again, it's depending on the hand that you use, it can be pretty streaky. And then for the number of coats, I don't think I own a 1 coat brown, so I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars for the number of coats. So Elaine's going to fall in at 4.33 out of 5 stars. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that Hadley is kind of the sister to Elaine. It has almost identical formula to Elaine. But Hadley is described as a smoky midnight blue cream. The Pantone reference is 19-4012 and TCX, and that's in the color Carbon. This one was really difficult to match. Carbon is not an exact match for it. Carbon, I think, was slightly too blue, but everything else that I tried was slightly too green or slightly too gray. So this one is one of the more unique polishes of the collection. This one had a thin to normal consistency, almost identical to Elaine on the first coat. If you go in with thin coats, it's going to be pretty streaky and sheer on one. If you go in with a little bit of a thicker coat, it won't be quite as streaky, but it still will be a little bit sheer. You will definitely need 2 coats of this. It finishes glossy. At cost, again, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. I have blues even by Zoya that perform a little bit better than this one does. Even at $5, I think I have polishes in my collection that perform a little better than this one. But, I mean, this isn't bad or anything. 4 out of 5 is not bad. For formula ease of use, again, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 just because of that streakiness issue if you're applying with thinner coats. And then for the number of coats, I am going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. So Hadley will fall in at 4.33 out of 5 stars. We're almost there, guys, on polish number 11. So here we have Tabitha. Tabitha is described as a refined pearl in a deep hunter green. And the Pantone reference is 19-5918 TCX in the color Mountain View. This one to me is, I don't know. I don't see a hunter green. I see a slight bit warmer tone than a hunter green, but we'll give it a hunter green. It's fine. The consistency of Tabitha was thin. It was probably the thinnest of the ones we've done so far. So this one applied sheer and streaky on the first coat with a thinner coat. And similar to the other ones with a slightly thicker coat, it was really just sheer on the first coat. No streaks if you're using a slightly thicker coat on one. However, you will definitely need 2, and 2 does get it completely opaque. The finish of this was surprisingly glossy and shimmery. I think I mentioned with Beth. Beth had the rose gold. It was the rose gold metallic, what they described as a rose gold metallic. It had more of a satin finish and shimmery. I feel like most metallics finish a little bit on the satin side, and you need a top coat to make them the shimmer really stand out. With this one, the shimmer does stand out, and it is a glossier finish, so that's really nice. Rating this one at $5, I'm going to give it a cost. At cost, I'm going to say a 4 out of 5. It was okay. I did not like the fact that it was just so kind of almost watery thin. It's not that bad. The words that I use make it sound terrible. It wasn't that bad, but if you go in with a thin coat, it's almost going to look like colored water on your nails. It's not going to give you a whole lot. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for that. For the formula ease of use, again, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 because I think with that streakiness, it just makes it a little bit difficult. You have to pay attention to the second coat a little bit more. So I'll give it 4 out of 5 for formula ease of use. And I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for the number of coats, because I do think polishes like this, again, pearly type of polishes do need 2 coats. So I can't really deduct anything for that. So yeah, okay, I'm good with that. So this one's going to fall in at, so Tabitha's going to fall in at 4.33 out of 5 stars. And the last polish, finally, is called Gal. Gal is described on the Zoya website as a smoky, iridescent peridot gold metallic. And for Pantone reference, which is really bad, and I started not to even include it in the video, it's bad, guys. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in there because it's the closest that I could get, and I'll explain why in a second. It's 15-0828, and that's TPX in the color Leek Green. Now, the difficulty in finding a color match to metallics is there is shininess, and any kind of Pantone color you're going to look at on, your computer screen is going to be a flat cream, basically. It's really hard to match a shiny, shimmery color to a flat cream. It's just hard. So I was trying to match the base, And the base is more green, but the shimmer is more peridot goldish. So it was just really hard. So I think I matched the base okay, but it's not indicative of the polish because that gold peridot shimmer that's in there, it takes over the polish. So that match is just kind of the base. So take it for what it's worth. The consistency of Gal was the thinnest of the 12. I'm sorry, I want to keep saying Gal, and that's why I keep saying like so hard Gal. Gal. So I want to say Gal. Anyway, the consistency of Gal was on the thinner side. It was a thin polish, the thinnest of the 12. On the first coat, this one was sheer and a little bit streaky. It was super duper sheer. Let me say that. Super duper duper sheer on the first coat. On the second coat, it was still sheer. And then on the third coat in the live swatch, it was still sheer. Now, granted, this was under bright lights, so I don't know if you can necessarily tell based on the way I applied it in the live swatch if it could be opaque in 3 outside of that. However, I used 3 thicker coats in the swatch picture and it was completely opaque. So you can get this one completely opaque. The finish of it is shimmery. You will want a top coat to make it stand out a little bit more. So at $5 for cost, I'm going to rate this a 3 out of 5. I know it's a metallic and probably a little bit difficult, but to me it just was okay. I can definitely see some people with their application preferences not able to get this opaque at all. So I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5 for cost. For the formula ease of use, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It wasn't streaky, it was just really sheer. So not terrible, just a little bit sheer. It's not going to look bad on your nails. It's just, if you're like me and you like opacity, it's a little bit sheer. For the number of coats, I originally gave it 2 out of 5 because it didn't look sheer, it didn't look opaque in 3 coats. However, since with the picture I was able to get it opaque in 3, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. So Gal is going to come in at a 3.33 out of 5 stars. Okay, so for the collection rating, for those of you who didn't see the China Glaze video, this is where I'm going to rate the entire 12-piece collection for its uniqueness, cohesiveness, price, accessibility for the individual polish performance, and then I'm going to average all those out to give you kind of an overall collection rating. So first up, we do uniqueness. So for uniqueness, when I first saw this collection, I was like, oh no. I was like, Zoya, what happened? Because they gave us so many pinks and nudes and reds, I was just kind of over it, as I usually am with collections that are heavily nudes and reds and pinks. However, upon applying the 12 polishes on my nails, I found that 6 of them were actually pretty unique, and they are not really my 6 favorites. I really only have 1 favorite in the collection. I'll just tell it to you now. The first one being Beth, this rose gold metallic. This is hands down my favorite of the collection. It's very interesting. I have nothing like this in my collection at all. My sister's probably going to steal it from me. But I love it. It's soft. It's still got that shimmer in it, so it's going to stand out in the sun, and yeah, I really like this one, and it was one of the more unique ones, probably the most unique next to Gal. I think it's the most unique next to Gal. Also Mona. Now Mona looks like it's not anything special, but what's interesting about Mona, and I realized this when I was swatching it, and I realized it even more when I was trying to find a color comparison, was Mona has a decent amount of brown in here that it comes across as just like a red, like a, you know, kind of like a, I think they describe it as a burgundy. And it does look like a burgundy, but there's even more brown in there that just makes it a little bit muddy, and that makes it really interesting to me. So that was another one I thought was pretty unique, and it was difficult to color match on Pantone's site. I mentioned Elaine being difficult to match. I think, no, maybe I didn't. This one's a chocolatey plum color, and it was very difficult to match on the Pantone site. And it's just because there's almost like a half and half purple and brown. And I don't know, a little bit more brown than purple, but there's a lot of purple in here, and that makes it pretty interesting. Although I do think I have similar shades in my collection. Okay, then Hadley. I knew for sure. I was just like, I know I have a dupe for this in my collection. Not exactly. There are similar shades to this. However, there is a weird balance between blue and green and gray in here that was extremely difficult to match on the Pantone site. And for reference of how I do the Pantone colors, the color references, basically I go to the Pantone color finder and I find what looks like the exact match to the polish, and then Pantone will generate a bunch of colors that are similar and you can go in and try to match it up. So I'm holding the polish up to the screen and kind of looking to see where it just blends in. And this one did not blend in with anything, and I tried 3 or 4 different colors on the color box to generate a bunch of colors, and I still could not match this with anything. So that tells me it's a pretty unique shade. And then Tabitha. The reason why I put Tabitha in here, it's not all that unique, being the base is kind of like what they describe as a hunter green, but there is a little bit, the pearl in here is almost pulling warm, and I think that's why it's looking a little bit warm, a little bit warmer than I would describe as a hunter green, but it's just pulling it a little bit warm, which makes it interesting. It was another one that was really hard to match on the Pantone site. And then finally Gal. I've never seen a peridot metallic outside of the KBShimmer one, which is far more bright yellow than where this is going. True Peridot I think leans a little bit closer to the KBShimmer, but this one is pretty, it's like almost like a muted peridot color. It's really pretty. So I did think this one was pretty unique too. So I personally think that if you're looking at a collection that costs $60 for 12 polishes that perform the way Zoya's do, and you get 6 out of 12 that are decently unique shades, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars for uniqueness. Again, we've seen Zoya do these neutrals and pinks and reds already, and they do them wonderfully. I get why they keep generating them. They are really, really good at doing pinks and reds and nudes. I get why they keep putting it in here, but it has to bring my uniqueness score down a little bit. For cohesiveness, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. For a fall collection, we have some true fall colors, some dark green, or a dark green, we have a dark blue, we have a nice rich brown, couple of rich wine and red shades, and then we have the neutral shades, which they kind of work year round. I wouldn't think of those 6 that I would label as being not unique. I wouldn't necessarily think of them as fall shades. I would think of them as fine for any time. But I think for cohesiveness, the collection does look like it belongs together. There's not really an outlier in here. Maybe the only one being McKenna, which is that pearly almond shade. But, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's in the brown family and brown fall. Yeah, good. Alright, so for price at $5, I'm going to give this collection as a whole. If you can get the whole collection at $60, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 stars. If you can't get the collection at $60 and you're paying $120 for the full collection, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. So there is kind of where you would see my price difference come in. For accessibility, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. To my knowledge, I can only get Zoya from the Zoya website. I think Ulta carries some older ones, but nothing new. Or if it's new, it's like a few months later after it's come out. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. No, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 because you can only get it from the Zoya website. Now, I will say I've never had an issue with stock, with colors being out of stock or anything like that. So that gives it another star for accessibility because I can pretty much count on being able to get it easily from the Zoya site, but being only one place to get it from, 3 out of 5 stars. For the individual polish performance, it came in at 4.44 out of 5 if I did my math correctly, which is about how I felt about, you know, the average of this collection. So that gives us an overall collection rating of 4.2 out of 5 stars. And if you're looking at that, it's kind of like a, what would that be, like a B? It'd be kind of like a B, like a solid B. And that's, yeah, I would say I would put it at kind of like a solid B. It'd be like an 84, I think, if I did my math right in my head. Be like an 84 out of 100. So that's a solid B. I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's a good collection. I think it's good for the fall. Where it could have gained some points could have definitely gained some points in uniqueness without those 6 shades. And then there were a couple shades in here that were thinner that I felt like didn't have to be, namely Elaine and Hadley. I don't know why these were so thin because their other browns, I know I have one or two other browns, and definitely the blues are a lot thicker than those two. And I think if they had thickened up some of the other formulas and they would have been closer to 1-coaters, it could have gotten a higher score. But this is a solid B collection. I would recommend it if you're looking for a fall collection. I would recommend the 6 that I talked about under the uniqueness. And then if you already have the some Zoya pinks and whatnot, you can kind of skip those. If you don't have them, these are okay, but there are definitely some better ones, and I would reference my Zoya hauls if you want to find some better, because I have some really good ones from the Black Friday haul and some good ones from the winter sale. So that is my review. I know it was a long one. I'm sorry, guys. I just want to give you as much information as possible, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or concerns, or if you felt differently about the collection, if you have some of these polishes, I'd love to hear all of it in the comment section. So just go ahead and start the conversation down there, and I will see you guys in the next video very soon.